When the Democrats won a trifecta in the November 2019 election, and we said, you know what, we have a chance, let's give it one more chance to do, every opportunity to do it the legal way. And so we turned our energies with Take 'em Down Seville was a legislative campaign then. So then in November 2019, after the Democratic win, when we were kind of trying to press things, and we're like, how far can we go, with this Dem majority that we now have a Dem governor, Dem Senate, Dem House of Delegates. How much can we do? There was a lot of work to do, felon enfranchisement, marijuana legalization. I mean, there were just a whole host of things that needed attention, you know what I mean? So where are we going to spend political capital? And this is always a question, Anyway, so we were showing up we were there on opening day in 2020, January 2020, I think January the 8th, opening day at General Assembly. Sally Hudson came out, we were on the steps of the Capitol there, the very Jefferson-designed Capitol, and this was when Take 'em Down Seville, which was co-founded by Christian Zakis and myself, where we joined forces with other Virginia communities from Norfolk, from Northern Virginia and elsewhere, who'd been trying to take their statues down. And we called this coalition Monumental Justice Virginia. Our campaign was to pass this bill that would basically, upend the bill, that would upend the law that had been in place for 100 years that made it illegal for Virginia municipalities to remove statues, that had been up. So in early 2020, we really just went like 2-3 times a week, to the relevant committees, and what is it, towns and counties, in the House, and you could not. There were still a lot of conservatives that are, good old boy Virginia types that, wanted to keep the statue. So it was not a foregone conclusion that just because there was a Dem majority in each house that the bill would pass. It was very slim margins in the end of it. Sally Hudson gave a very impassioned speech in early March on the day when it was finally voted on. It was voted into law on the day that the COVID quarantine started. We were watching live, from the library, from what's now the Swanson Room. In the public library, we were having a session with our delegate. Sally Hudson was there in Richmond. It had just passed through. We were applauding, and then we all went home for 2 years. But that was the last kind of public event without masks and stuff. We're sitting there in March of 2020. The bill had passed. And then the governor signed it, and then finally it was legal. But this was hard fought, and so but joining together with our colleagues, our activist colleagues from across Virginia in the Monumental Justice Virginia campaign was really important, and we continue to see some of these folks, at other events,